We've all been trained to look at what's real you put your hands on versus what's also real is the energy of life that we're living and moving and having our being in, and it lives and moves and has being in us. So it's actually not coming. It exists. And I'm going to be on a frequency where I'm on that frequency where it exists, or I'm going to be on the frequency where I'm getting to it. And as long as I'm getting to it, I'm in lack. So I'm not in have. So when I said, so you're standing at the sink, the person who has the result, what are they thinking and feeling? You just put it on like an actor. You put it on and you're not perfect at it. And in the beginning, you spend way more time off the frequency of being the person having your result, but you get better at it through practice.
Welcome to the Mind Tracks podcast with breakthrough ideas to live your best life possible and how to make it happen. I'm Paul Sheely, and today we will be joined by Mary Morrissey. Mary Morrissey is a speaker, coach, consultant, and founder of the Brave Thinking Institute. Mary is an expert on dream building, having invested the last 40 years into studying the art and science of transforming dreams into results. She's the author of 2 best-selling books, No Less Than Greatness and Building Your Field of Dreams. Mary has addressed the United Nations, co-convened week-long meetings with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and met with President Nelson Mandela in South Africa. Her teachings empower people worldwide to achieve new heights of meaning, purpose, aliveness, and authentic success. Hello, Mary. So good to be with you. Thanks for being a part of this podcast.
For inviting me, Paul. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, I love your work, Brave Thinking. It's gorgeous. It's straightforward. You've been working with coaches, trainings, and your book is quite an inspiring piece of work. I think it's your magnum opus. It's really lovely. And you start out by talking about it's not dreamers, it's dream building that's essential here. And I want to start with the really hard stuff, the complicated stuff first, because once we get that out of the way, I think everybody will resonate to it. You make a statement in the book, it goes like this. This process is not about getting to your dream. That's impossible because your dream doesn't exist yet, not in the physical realm at least. It is, in a way, calling you from the infinite space of possibility, from the quantum realm where all potentialities exist. Would you please explain that and what our role is as dream builders?
Oh, yes. Everybody has dreams, but very few people have studied what you and I have studied and know that the process is dream building. There is an art and a science to dream building. The art is in the vision. So when you paint a vision of what you would love a year from now in health, relationships, vocation, time and money, freedom, you dream up a life that is an exact match to what you would deeply love, which includes service and all the many things that hit all your value points. So what would you really love a year from now or 3 years from now? That's the vision. Now the vision determines the vibration. So we're here generally thinking and feeling lack for that vision. So we can't get, by definition, we can't get to the dream from this frequency. We have to move to the frequency that's a match of our dream. Henry David Thoreau did a beautiful quote on his experiment with life when he said, I went to the woods because I wanted to learn what life had to teach me, and not when I came to die, find out I hadn't even really lived. And then he codified his version of this. He said, if one advances confidently in the direction of their dream, you can't get to a dream you haven't dreamed up, but if you advance confidently in the direction of the dream, endeavoring to live the life you've imagined, not then, not after you get there, but now. So simple activity of that would be you're doing a mundane thing, like you're maybe putting some dishes in the dishwasher or folding clothes or whatever it would be. And you do that now, and you're going to be doing that when you're successful and having everything that's in your vision. What is the person standing at the sink thinking? Oh, how long is this going to take? Things don't always work for me. Maybe I don't have what it takes, on and on. Thinking that's not a match to the person who has what it is they've been longing for, dreaming for, the answer to their longing and the dissolve of their discontent. So you just practice being that person and taking the steps you can take. I'm a big believer, Paul, in baby steps. Even if you take one step a day, it changes me. If I take that one step a day, it begins to change me. And now I'm on a different level. A simple way to understand this is also, if I turn on my television and CNN is playing, and I've been tuned to CNN Problem Channel, then if I switch over and decide I want romance, I want adventure, I want travel, I got to change the frequency of my tuner. And once I change the frequency and get on the frequency to match to the program I want to be experiencing, all the pictures dissolve and the new pictures come in. It takes longer, of course, in the physical world, but it's very much the same thing. So you want to take a picture first because that sets the vibration, and then you have a frequency you can tune to.
And that's why Thoreau also said, we will receive this dream, will awaken to a success unexpected in common hours, right? And the common hours thinking is an important distinction you make. Common hours versus brave thinking. That's an essential concept behind it. Common hour thinking is the limited, the default, and we have circuits in the brain called the default mode network, which when we're worried about things, when we're not sure if, when we're fearful, doubting, that's what's running. It's our common hour thinking.
So my definition is exactly that, of common hour thinking. Common hour thinking is looking to circumstances, situations, and conditions for permission to be and do and have and give what you'd love to be, do, have, and give. Versus brave thinking is the courage to think and live from a vision, regardless of the current circumstances, situations, or conditions.
And the illustrations that you give in the book, I mean, many, many, many great stories, people's lives who are models of this sort of thing happen. I'm sure you're getting more and more of those all the time with every course you teach. This idea of brave thinking is design thinking. It's directing your thoughts. It's expansive in nature. And in a universe, this quantum universe that we live in, which contains all possibilities, we're really positing our thinking with that ideal end result in mind, or the dream that we're holding. Is there a quality to the way in which we're designing our thinking that makes it especially effective at motivating this quantum field to bring us what it is we're imagining?
My study has taught me that thoughts generate feelings. Feelings dictate what actions we will or will not take. So if we're having thoughts of doubt, we're going to feel constricted, and then the move that we tend to make is a constricted move. So the key over many years of my work, as I've become more aware of how things occur, is to notice what I'm noticing. That is a unique to our species ability we have with the kind of technology that we've been given. So we can self-reflect. The tree can't self-reflect. The bird doesn't self-reflect. Our species, we can notice what we're noticing, and we can even notice that we're noticing. So then we can begin to notice the thoughts we're having. Are they expansive or are they contractive? Do they lead to, because expansive thoughts are going to lead to more expansive results. It's quite simple, really, when we look straight at it. So you want a vision that has pictures in it, because our mind thinks in pictures. If I say to you, your front door to where you live, the bed you sleep in most often, the sink in your kitchen, you didn't see SINK. You saw a picture of a sink and a bed and a door. And so you want to build pictures of you step into this imaginal life that your health is dynamic, that the one thing everybody wants the same of is dynamic health. For the purpose of the other quadrants, your relationships, what you're doing with your message, your purpose, your work in the world, whether you earn income doing it or not, is what do you do with your time and talent? Is it fulfilling, meaningful, purposeful to you? And if not, and you're just trading time for a paycheck, over time, that has a cost to it. Because the aliveness, our whole system isn't vitally alive. And so that brings other signs and signals of unlived life. We used to call those symptoms, dis-ease, all kinds of things that life is showing back to us. You're meant for more than this.
Yeah, and I remember a beautiful story you told in a particular vulnerable moment in your life with failing kidneys that the chaplain said, we create twice.
But everything is created twice. That's
everything is created twice. And what I've often said, look around your space here. I mean, this computer, these lights, this microphone, all of it had to exist in consciousness first. And it's intuitively obvious, makes sense. But in terms of our lives, very important. In this quantum mechanical universe we live in, effect that we desire, the dream we desire, has to precede the creation of it. It has to be preceding the form that it will ultimately take. Could you say more about this create twice that could help us in our noticing when we are standing around noticing?
We just notice the clothing we're wearing right now. I've got on a white sweater that everything had to be a thought before it could be a thing. So somebody thought, let's make it, with a turtleneck on it and not a scoop neck. That thought shaped the form. The fabric was laid out according to a form. The form is the thought. This fabric is the infinite energy that's everywhere present. And we shape and form it without often being even aware of it, right in harmony with the frequency of our major dominant thoughts. So as we look into our own environment, and then I believe the first way this life energy speaks to us, and it's doing it all the time, because you and I didn't create ourselves. We can't even breathe ourselves one time or make our heart beat under our own power. In fact, all of this is just clay without the spirit of life animating it. And so the spirit of life pouring into and through all forms of itself, it's pressing through a tree today to become more of itself, and a blade of grass to become more of itself. It'll press through cement, that life force, and it's pressing into and through you and me, seeking to express greater life. Now, the difference between the blade of grass and the tree and you and me is we can thwart it. We can say, no, later, after the kids grow up, when I get the debt paid off, and we push it down because of some circumstance or situation. But life doesn't stop flowing. It just moves into forms of unlived life. So when we are noticing what we're noticing, we can begin to notice, all right, if thought formed this sweater, my thought actually is forming an unseen future right now to my conscious mind, but it's absolutely at work right now. So what's the vision I'm going to hold and the thoughts I'm going to think that are in harmony with the two signals I'm getting from that life force? The first is longing, and discontent is the other. So it's, I would just love it if I could take my whole family to Disneyland, or some place in the world I'd love to take them, or send my kids to the school of their dreams, or build that business, write that book. I'd love that. And I feel so tired of not having that love of my life. I feel so sad that it's constricted feeling, discontent with having more month than money. So if you just notice your own longing and your own discontent, those are sacred signals. Life is sacred.
I love this idea that we can move those feelings of discontent, not see them as our defeat because I can't have it, but as a sacred signal that's urging me forward to go ahead and create it. And you talk about and are noticing we do have to replace self-defeat with self-empowerment. So what is that shift that occurs? You talk about having a vision, shifting our beliefs, and then having a set of daily practices. So what is the shift that gets us to move from self-defeat to self-empowerment?
I think the first and important step is to do an experiment. Do an experiment with the technology that allows you to get supported in shaping a very strong vision, a very strong vision. And then you begin to, what step can I take to move me from where I am today? A 5 minute. I teach a 5 minute power move because we all have all these things coming at us, but the distinction in dream builders is they also pay attention to what's seeking to come through them, not just at them. Because this is your one, as far as we know, and we have lots of ideas about the afterlife, but in this world, this is the one life we've got, and we are sitting at the helm of it ourselves. So, yeah, I think the important thing is that you have a crystal clear vision, and then you begin to take steps that you can take to move you in the direction of the dream.
And I believe those small steps, as you're saying, are essential. Also essential is the noticing of the small concrete indicators of success. So if I'm doing an experiment, I'm going to be gathering data. So I make a power move, I try a shift. What's a good example of a power move a person could do today when they're feeling at effect of their circumstances instead of at cause with their circumstances, that can help convince them that, yes, my consciousness is creative. I can do something to make a difference right now.
Mm-hmm. Often people say to me, well, why should we be wanting more? Shouldn't we just be grateful for the life we have? My answer to that is yes. And yes, we want to be fully grateful for the life we have. And life itself is seeking to express more of itself by all different means of itself. And that includes you and me. So we don't want to thwart or discard or deny those life signals because it's life itself. So yes, be very, very grateful. And in fact, that is a clue, Paul, to being more expansive, is to up the level of your daily dose of a really healthy gratitude. Because gratitude actually turns out to be the frequency that's harmonious with abundance. Most of us have what I call a knee-jerk gratitude. You do something nice to me, I get a gift, surprise support, and then so by means of stimulus, I might feel gratitude. That's one level of gratitude. There's another level, and that's generative gratitude, where it's not about reason. It's just a vibration that we decide to generate on a regular, repeated basis of grateful for life itself. I've done well over 100 podcasts, and nobody has ever started before we hit the record button the way you started today.
Oh.
A connection with this infinite presence, seeking only to bring forth something that can bring impact and difference and real expanded life for all who might ever hear it. And you put us in a beautiful, beautiful state of connection, communion. And that's something we can do, all of us, is just generate out of choice, not waiting for something to stimulate gratitude, but generate more gratitude. You'll see all kinds of things shift in your life when you're coming from a more expanded vibration, and gratitude keeps us there.
Yes, and in New Thought teachings, the idea of being grateful in advance for that which you will be receiving seems tricky for most people who are living according to a linear physics of causing and effect. But that really is first cause, to connect with the great fullness of life moving through us, right?
That's right. It's not missing. It's just out of form. I mean, we're in a sea of infinite.
Okay. So right there, it's not missing. It's just not formed yet. So when you establish a goal, this is a teacher of mine said, Paul, you've got the goal. It's already yours. It's done. And no, it's not. It's not here. It's not. What are you talking about? But how do you have such a relentless knowing that this good that the universe is trying to give you is coming to you when your focus is on circumstance that you're currently living?
It's a practice. It is a practice we've all been trained to look at what's real you put your hands on versus what's also real is the energy of life that we're living and moving and having our being in, and it lives and moves and has being in us. So it's actually not coming. It exists. And I'm going to be on a frequency where I'm on that frequency where it exists, or I'm going to be on the frequency where I'm getting to it. And as long as I'm getting to it, I'm in lack. So I'm not in have. So when I said, so you're standing at the sink, the person who has the result, what are they thinking and feeling? You just put it on like an actor. You put it on and you're not perfect at it. And in the beginning, you spend way more time off the frequency of being the person having your result, but you get better at it through practice. And there's a number of different practices that I share around that. But the first is to make sure you have a clear vision. And I think people often want to just get past that. If you had the person who was the best builder in the entire world who said to you, I'm going to build any house you want. And you say, great, build me something I really love. And the builder says, I can't do that. You tell me what you would love. And we'll design a blueprint for that, an exact blueprint for that. Then I can build that. So in essence, you're dealing with the great builder of all life who says, this is infinite. Tell me what you're going to get in harmony with. So you have to be distinct and exact in a life that you would absolutely love. And so you try on possible futures in your mind as you're designing your blueprint, your vision that includes health and relationships, the way you would love them to be. Many people who I've worked with, great businesses, earned and have tons of money to what most people think of as tons of money. And yet they are bankrupt in their relationships because they've poured so much energy into a different one of the quadrants of life. And then begin at some point to say, wait a minute, I just got into a hypnosis that this was the way for real success. It's only success in a portion of my life, not my whole life.
Beautiful. Yeah. So your model is about blueprinting, it's about bridging, it's about building. And really the building is turning that into reality. And along the way, there is a beautiful way of working with the voice of discontent. You say, our history is not our destiny. So that's one way to look beyond the circumstances that we're in up until now. And the phrase up until now, to me, was as ringing the bell of, wow, that's a great one. Would you explain that technique? Because to me, I think it almost immediately sets us on this higher vibrational opportunity that's here each moment.
Right. So our conscious mind is sending signals to the subconscious mind. Subconscious meaning I'm not aware of it, but it's operating all the time. That's why your work with subliminals is so powerful for all of us. Paraliminals. So okay, I'm going to build this dream. I get clear on my vision, I make a decision, and I begin to notice what I'm noticing and noticing the thoughts that are in harmony with me being the person living the life I'm imagining, taking steps I can take. And then I notice a thought come by that says, you've tried this stuff before and none of it ever works anyway. And either that thought's going to win or you are going to be aware enough to notice it and interrupt it. And if you interrupt it, you say, yeah, up until now, that's been so, but not now. In old days, it took 7 miles to turn an ocean liner. But the moment the captain gave the order, all hands under deck went to work on it and secured a complete 180 turn. So it takes some time to turn that subconscious. But so you're interrupting with up until now. So that what that gives the subconscious mind, it's almost like it sits up and goes, oh, captain's turning the ship here. So that's going to no longer be the state of fact. You're loosening that. So yeah, that phrase
Nice.
is very powerful.
Very powerful. And in your story, I'm thinking about what Buckminster Fuller put on his headstone. Call me Trim Tab. He said on a giant rudder to turn a giant ship, there's this little rudder that helps turn the rudder. And those are those moment to moment thoughts, those small incremental shifts that we can make that ultimately will be turning our lives around. And your book is a great way to actually to move in that direction. And there is a powerful statement that you make. I'd like to, as we move to kind of wrapping up our thoughts about what we could do each day, you said, anyone who dares to dream knows fear. And what you've understood in your life and in my life and the lives of people we work with, fear is a stopper. It's those stop signs at each end of our comfort zone that says, don't go here, don't go there. And so we live in this confined space. Say more about dreaming and confronting fears.
Mhm. You're exactly right. The way you described it is beautiful. Stop signs. Oh, don't step out of the comfort zone, or where you imagine or build the fantasy that you're actually in control. Anyway, so yeah, there is no growth inside the comfort zone. There's only imagined protection.
That's a good distinction. Yeah, super
And
good.
by the way, life is moving on. So I call it befriending fear, that you just go, okay, so this means I'm growing. If there's no fear, I'm not growing. And that kind of, first time we went to walk, we were very wobbly, but we saw other people having more freedom on their hind legs and us crawling around. And that was the model for us, is that we could have more freedom too. So we pulled ourselves up and took wobbly steps. The difference is with the little kids, they don't move to frustration, they move to curiosity, and don't expect to get it right the first time or even a few times. So not one of us, after we fell down the 1500th time probably, thought, okay, that's it, I'm not meant to be a walker. But fall down in love a few times, and your temptation is, well, that's not in the cards for me, as if there are cards, or it's not in God's will, as if there's an outside force willing for you to have life or not have life. It's superstition. That's not what's happening. It's that I haven't yet been in harmony with it. Everything I'm in harmony with, I have. Everything I'm not in harmony with is in the not in my hands zone.
It's in potential, right?
It's in potential. And you can have and be and do what you absolutely fall in love with, what you would love. And there's a science and a technology to bring it about. So the art is in the vision, the physics is in the vibration. And then the practices, as you mentioned, morning and throughout the day, really simple, easy practices that over time you turn around and you think, gosh, 5 years or 10, however long. And it felt like it just out of the blue, it dropped in. Have you ever asked yourself the question, where is the blue?
Yeah.
It's right here. It's right here.
Gorgeous. When you talk about the self-compassion, you spent time with the Dalai Lama and Nelson Mandela, and there's a joyfulness in their spirit, and there is a real presence that they have. And your work is really asking us to be present at every moment in time. It's that noticing, certainly. And I think that there is, in addition to vision and brave thinking, expansive thinking forward, there is a role about forgiveness. And I think your statement about better over bitter is a beautiful one. And in my life, I notice the one person I've needed to forgive most of all is myself. Could you say a bit about forgiveness?
Yes, we take the word even forgive. So something occurs, we have a perception. If that perception is ultimately expansive or leading us to greater understanding, then that perception has life in it. When it's stomping down life, when it, oh, I'm just a schmuck, I always get things wrong, here I am again. There's no birthing of greater life by means of the experience. Every experience, what Napoleon Hill said this, every heartache, every heartbreak, every disappointment, every loss has within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. And I added, and like any seed, it's got to be found and planted and nurtured and grown and harvested. So forgiveness is to give for a limiting perception, a more expansive perception. All right, so I married a husband in midlife, and not long into that marriage, within a couple of years, I knew that he had depression. I'd never experienced that, even with a master's degree in psychology. I'd never lived with it before. And over time, ultimately, I found out that there'd been an embezzlement that ended the work I had built for 23 years. And I was left with about $10 million in debt. And I had the opportunity to say, we're going to bankrupt that, which of course attorneys encouraged me. And the other was spiritually, I felt responsible. My congregants and other people didn't choose him. I chose him. So after a lengthy walk at the beach, till I finally heard one day, just feeling like went through a lot of just bereftness at losing that work and what that meant. I heard one day I'm walking, dark chapter, not your whole book. And that was the first time I thought I could write more chapters. And my friends, Wayne Dyer and others, like you, Paul, Bob and Proctor and others reached out to me and said, "Oh, you got to get out of the nonprofit work if you're going to earn that kind of money so you can pay people back." And I began to build a different work in the world. And that was in 2003 and 4. I started that. So it's been 20 years. That debt all got down to zero balance in about 2018. But the learning of that, so when we're talking self-forgiveness, is that in hindsight, I could see things. But in the moment, I didn't see things. So what is that? Ultimately, I got down to, when we're talking about fear, is that as a public person, I had a fear of an unconscious fear, but it was operating of a second divorce as a public person, when I knew that this really was very challenging. And so I got busy. This is during that era I was working with the Dalai Lama and Nelson Mandela and speaking at the UN. And so I was busy. I kept myself very busy so I didn't see things unconsciously. At the end, I got to see it consciously right in my face. You were going to see it anyway. And then to decide what I was going to do with that. So in self-forgiveness is that you recognize this world operates through light and dark. We learn through getting it right, and we learn through not getting it right. Both are equal learning opportunities. So if the infinite designs it that we learn by getting it right and not right, who are we to say that getting it not right is somehow shameful, horrible, we should never have been learning like that? It can all be learning. When we begin to put a context around it, that it also makes room for others to learn also by getting it right and not getting it right. Now, some of the people who, quote unquote, didn't get it right, you may never want back in your life again. But when they cross your mind, when you bump into them in your mind, if you go, that means I'm still hooked to it. Versus just wish them well. I'm just wishing them well. My mind is a calm enough sea that all people can sail on it. And, I've taken, and it takes time and repetition so that the thought generates the feeling of forgiveness. And then you might go along 6 months or a year, and then something else will pop up. And people say to me, well, I thought I'd forgiven. You did at the level you could. And I did at the level I could. And then you hit a different level. So to me, forgiveness is a daily practice. It's like, I don't just brush my teeth once and say, there, I've brushed my teeth forever. I do it every day, because just the grit of grime of livingness can get things on us or in us if we're not aware. So what's mine to forgive today? And you get lighter. And I'd also believe that makes it easier for us to hold a vibration of deservingness for the dream that we're holding in our hearts.
Gorgeous. It really is beautiful and so well said and so well illustrated in your book as well, Mary. So thank you very much for all the work that you put into it. I think everything that you just said can also be summarized in the 5 questions that we ought to be asking yourself. You introduce it earlier in your book in chapter 4, and then come back to it later in the book. And we're always doing the best our current awareness permits. And our job as educators is to hold a space where people can recognize that genius within them to expand their thinking, expand their consciousness, connect more with the possibilities and the resources that are within them and available to them. And this idea, does this give me life? Does it align with my core values? Does it cause growth? Does it require help from that greater source of life that's coming through me as me? And does it bring good for others? It's such a wonderful way to test our daily living. So thank you for that. Thank you for your book. Thank you for being a part of this podcast. If there was a parting message that you might leave with our listener, what would it be?
Oh, this is just, first of all, I want to say thank you for this podcast. Thank you for the opportunity to share and the good work you do, Paula. I've always admired your work. It's made a big difference for me. So I encourage those of you who are listening to make sure you keep coming back here and get the app and enter into your ability to tap into this. It'll take you quantum leaps forward. So last part, I would just say, this is your one sacred life. If you keep doing what you've always been doing and thinking what you've always been thinking, you're going to pretty much be having what you've always been having. And if you love that, then it's the right thing. But if there's a part of you and you get honest with yourself that has been longing for more, then do yourself the favor of saying yes to that and get all the support you can to bring it about.
Beautiful. So well said, as all the words in your book are as well. You're a wonderful teacher, great speaker. Pleasure to be with you. Mary, peace and blessings. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Mary Morrissey. You can learn more about Mary at bravethinkinginstitute.com. That's BraveThinkinginstitute.com. And now, in the second part of the podcast, it's just you and me. I'll tell you how to use the paraliminal sessions in the MindTracks app to easily handle obstacles and move toward the success you want, especially as it relates to Mary's message. If you're new to the relaxing paraliminal audio sessions, they use breakthrough technologies to activate your whole mind in only 20 minutes to help improve any area of your life. Let's get going. Welcome to this follow-on to my conversation with Mary Morrissey and our talk about her great work, Brave Thinking. Powerful stuff, a lot of cool ideas, some very metaphysical New Thought movement, sorts of ancient wisdom coming through, a very intimate, detailed examination of her life experiences, coming to understand the real power of what it is that she shares with us. Now, as I was thinking about what from this work would be great to share with you, it broke down into 4 or 5 areas. There are really a lot of paraliminals that would be perfect for this, but I'd like to share a couple of ideas and how you might be able to apply them. So the major areas are vision, expansive thinking or directing your thoughts, daily practices, learning from fear, and forgiveness. Main topics that she and I were talking about. As you could tell, she's a magnificent teacher, and she and I share so many important new thought ways of framing what reality is in a quantum universe. It was a lot of fun for me. So let's talk about vision, this first area. I often reference the prosperity paraliminal because it helps us think about, so what is our vision for an abundance of anything in any area of our lives? Energy, health, well-being, connections, money, relationships, you name it. The prosperity paraliminal can help you construct a clear vision, not only of what it is, but also of you receiving it. Important notion is that once you hold the image of it, it's actually already there in the field of potential, and it's a matter of allowing yourself to receive it or get it. The second area in the ability to create a vision of what it is you're choosing or what you dream to do is wealth motivation. Now, the word wealth also comes from the same root as well-being. So in any area of your life where you may have been living with a circumstance of lack or limitation or self-defeat or disempowerment, that sense of discontent is the very energy, the fuel for you to say, here's an area where I want to say, wouldn't it be awesome if? Or another way of thinking it, won't it be awesome when I have this other circumstance happening in my life? And wealth motivation as a paraliminal really help you put that, posit that into your thinking, into your ongoing feeling space and your actions as a result. The next area is the idea of expansive thinking. Brave thinking is expansive thinking, and it's also choiceful thinking. It's directive thinking. So in this idea of directing your thoughts, a great number of paraliminals are very helpful for this. Pick an area of your life, pick a paraliminal, and that will help you expand the number of options, choices you realize are available to you, even when you've been living in a comfort zone that feels quite confined. So consider this breakthrough idea of living more expansively, and the concept of joy is a great paraliminal to play with. The joy paraliminal is one that helps us vibrate, as Mary often referenced, vibrate at that frequency that your good, your end result, your dream actually exists. It exists at a higher level vibration than the one that you're living at currently. So joy helps you open up that energy of your heart, your passion, your dreams, and will, in fact, help you then, by the law of attraction, get to where you want to be. Another paraliminal along this line is finding treasure. I don't know if you understand this one or if you've listened to it, but it's the idea that there is a wealth of abundant resources around you all the time. If I have you close your eyes and think about all of the things in the room around you that are the color blue, open your eyes, look around you, notice everything that's blue, close your eyes and think what in the room is color red. The idea is if we direct our thinking toward it, we're going to see it. So finding treasure is initializing that natural search function of the human brain mind to help you find the resourcefulness that's always around you, always waiting to come through you. As Mary very nicely expresses, life is always just trying to penetrate through to have expression in the world, and it's penetrating through us to have us be the full expression of our lives, our purpose, our great gifts, brought to the world. So find the treasure, find the resourcefulness, the support, the encouragement that lets you know that you can do what it is that you set your mind upon. You can have the dreams that you endeavor to create. The third area is the idea of a daily practice. Now, certainly in Mary's book, she details a number of things that you can do. One of the biggies that she and I were talking about is this idea of a practice of gratitude or gratefulness. And the gratitude paraliminal, spot on. And as she said, boy, that one is the biggie. So any practice of gratitude is going to be awesome for all kinds of good reasons. If you're not currently in the habit of making a practice, being grateful for the simple things while you're standing at the kitchen sink, as she says, what is your ongoing stream of consciousness, gratefulness, and the gratitude paraliminal really help a lot. The other thing about daily practice are the disciplines we set for ourselves. She says, if you brush your teeth, you figure one and done. I don't ever have to do this again. Not so much. You really do want to create these ongoing rituals, practices that are leading you to these greater expansive energy vibrations, connection with the dream that you're living into. So the self-discipline paraliminal will help you posit in your daily routine those things that are going to be the best for you to focus on. Another one I think could be very helpful, because a lot of what she was talking about is what we believe. It's the second part in her formula: vision, shift your belief, and then set of daily practices. So the belief session B paraliminal is really helpful with that, because you're actually building and reinforcing positive life enhancing beliefs that are going to connect you with those further resources available to you. The fourth area is learning from fear. She makes a statement in the book: anyone who dares to dream knows fear. And I asked her to describe that in a little bit more detail. So if you know that fears are a part of your life, obviously that's the good thing, and what to do with them when they arrive. The fearlessness paraliminal will help a lot, because what it's doing is it's putting you into that moment of recognizing that right now, standing in the face of your fear, you're okay. And that practice really gets established on the session A of fearlessness. Session B is about then approaching that thing and busting out of the comfort zone that you may have been living in up until now. And another paraliminal in which that's addressed is the miracle mindset paraliminal. Great one. And in addition to helping you overcome fear, be courageous, and live wholeheartedly, there's also the idea of forgiveness as one of those miracle mindset attributes that we talk about on that paraliminal recording. And that's the final area I want to refer to, is the idea of forgiveness. And she talked about forgiveness as giving for. And I've always put it as giving forth love where your love has been withheld. But when you see that there's some area of your life where you have a hard time saying that the past is okay, it's over. You didn't advocate that those behaviors of yourself or others is something you want to repeat in the future. However, rather than mentally replaying it all the time, forgive yourself, forgive others. Don't let it dominate your thinking anymore. Go forward from here. So in the area of forgiveness, I think there are two paraliminals really helpful in addition to miracle mindset. Self-esteem superchargers, super powerful. And the final one is self-love. You hear me referring to that one a lot in these sessions, follow-up sessions, and it really is something. It establishes a relationship with ourself through a protocol that I've never encountered anywhere else. It's really beautiful. It's where you get together your younger you, your present you, and your future you all together combined, giving forth the fullness of your love to yourself and to the dreams that you know it's time for you to live in, to actualize, and realize for your life. Well, that's it for me. Thanks so much for being a part of this, and look forward to being with you again in a future podcast. Thank you for joining me today. I applaud your willingness to maximize your potential. You can easily use the Paraliminal audio sessions in the Mindtracks app to stimulate your non-conscious mind, that is your inner mind, to reduce any resistance in your life and to propel you toward the success you want. Go to www.mindtracks.com/go. That's www.mindtracks.com/go. These amazing audio tools have helped millions, and I encourage you to bring them into your world today. Be sure to be back for more episodes of the Mindtracks podcast. You'll find insightful conversations with authors, experts, and thought leaders, all devoted to improving your life's experience. Thank you again for being here on our Mindtracks podcast.